So spring is sprung, which means, at least in my neck of the woods in California, it's infrared photography season. The usual golden hills that, this part of California especially is famous for, well, they're more like emerald hills right now. Lots of rain, lots of atmospheric rivers, something in Pineapple Express, and the grass in the hills, instead of being its usual kind of gray to golden dead self, it is this vibrant, fresh, living green. I love it. It's one of my favorite times of year. Love the Golden Hills, but there's something exceptionally special about when it's so green like this, and especially a year like this where we've had more rain in a row than I can remember maybe since my childhood. Yeah, and so what better way to kick off infrared season by shooting a roll of severely expired film that I found in the thrift shop. Found several rolls of very expired film, and one of them happened to be a roll of Konica IR400. I did a little research. The roll I grabbed was expired in 1990, so it's older than me. But it was a popular infrared film in the 90s to early 2000s. So I grabbed the roll of IR400, my trusty Pentax 67, a whole ton of lenses, my infrared filter as well as a red filter. Also brought some extra film just in case, including some fresh Rollei IR400, which is my absolute favorite infrared film currently, especially since it's still produced. And I went out to kind of my hometown, part of Concord, Clayton, California, if you're familiar with those two places, where I know a few spots that are great views of those rolling hills. I photographed these spots before. This first main one was actually really close to the house I grew up in, so I actually built a treehouse in one of these oak trees. Don't tell the state. I doubt it's still there, but very familiar with these places. Just a lot of nostalgia from my childhood. A lot of my early inspiration for photography really came from these specific hills, not just the hills in general, but also these hills specifically. So it's kind of a nice walk down memory lane to go photograph there. Also excited to experiment with a film that's new to me, and just curious to see what results I would get from a severely expired film. The rule of thumb that I've read and I've kind of gone by is you need to overexpose by a stop for every decade of expiration. However, the film is a fairly slow film. I think it's originally like an ISO 32. So for safety reasons, I decided to shoot doubles, where I'd shoot one exposure with my IR72 filter right here, and I expose doubles with that filter as well as the regular red 25 filter. Use this quite a bit, so that way I can know that if the infrared layer is dead, at least I might get a usable image. This film, I had no idea. So to play it safe, the red exposed shots, so ones that expose both the visible light and a little bit of the infrared there, I was exposing roughly around ISO 6-ish, give or take. For infrared shots, I was exposing somewhere between ISO 1 and 3, depending on the composition and on the amount of sunlight. I developed it at home, both the Rollei film and the Konica film, Kodak D76, 1:1, just simple hand-taken processing. For the Konica film, I did about 9 minutes at 68 degrees Fahrenheit, and as you can see, it's dense. A lot of base fog. It was original packaging, so I'm thinking that this is really just the age showing. The kind of thrift kind of shop I got it from is more of like an antique shop. There's no AC, it's a historical building. It's on the California Delta. It gets very hot in the summer there. I have a feeling this roll is sitting on one of those shelves for many years. And so, like I said, it's very dense. However, you put a strong light behind it, you will see there are images on it, albeit hard to discern. The good news is, like I said, there are images. Most notably, I'm glad I shot doubles because the ones with the red filter look to be partially usable. I'll show you more when I get to the scans. In infrared only ones, there is a faint latent image there, but it's not going to be usable. But on the, like I said, the red shot ones, I got something there. Scanner, I set the brightness on my Epson V500 to basically the max to try to push through the density here. And you get, usable image is a rough term, but you get an image. And unfortunately, speaking of bad storing conditions, as I got towards the core of the roll, so the images later on the roll, which are more towards the center of the reel or the spool, I think there must have been some kind of mold or other damage because you see these little spots. It has like almost like a mold or like a moisture issue. So yeah, that's about what you get rolling the dice on a, severely expired roll of film that was improperly stored. The look is there. For comparison though, on density, this is the roll of Rollei IR400 I shot back to back. Much higher quality, standard negative. Images are day and night in terms of actual quality. really happy with them. I really love just the few kind of clouds in the sky, just to kind of break up the pure black that you get. I like it. It was good practice. A few of these really do stand out, especially these at the gate, especially with the moonrise in the background. I was able to get a composition with my 200mm lens on the Pentax to try to get the moon a little bigger in frame, and I think it turned out pretty well. Like those two. Unfortunately, I don't love the light overall. I think they're really nice. I should have waited another hour and a half for the shadows to lengthen. In my opinion, in infrared photography, you do need that midday to afternoon or late morning light. But if you can push it towards the late afternoon while you still have sharp shadows, sharp distinct sunlight, the sunlight has not gone to that golden hour yet, that to me is the optimal time for infrared photography, especially black and white infrared photography, because you need depth and you need those shadows to provide texture, provide more context to the image, provide more detail to the image, as in when you're shooting midday, things are generally flat and it's harder to get those more interesting compositions to really pop. But yeah, fun little photo shoot. Trying to get into this whole swing of me vlogging these adventures. Not normally one to do that, and carrying an extra camera around is extra gear and kind of pain, but really happy with how this turned out. And hope you enjoyed these photographs and kind of my process with it as well, and encourage you to, if you find a roll of expired film, don't be afraid to shoot it. Obviously temper your expectations in case, you get a real bad roll or it was really stored properly, but, there's always something worth experimenting with, helping you kind of get those creative juices flowing and get you that side too. Yeah. So, thanks for watching.